Hey, Men Warriors, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about when life gets really, really hard. How do you actually survive it and get through it effectively? Today I'm actually going to be talking in detail about vagus nerve, how that affects our stress response, how it implicates your life as far as a menopausal woman goes, and also give you some easy tips that you can start to employ daily that are going to help you claw back some semblance of normality. Because when life gets really, really challenging, often it's, one bad thing happens and another happens and another happens, and you just think, is it ever going to start to get better? And all it seems to do is get worse and worse and worse. And while that is happening, you find that your resilience goes down, your immune system is weakened, you become ill, you catch all the colds and the flu going around. It can become a really difficult situation to get yourself out of. And of course, long-term stress, if you've watched any of my recent videos around adrenal health and adrenal fatigue, long-term stress really has such a negative impact on your functioning in daily life, your ability to think clearly, your productivity. It can significantly increase your risk of developing autoimmune disorders, inflammatory disorders. You might find that when you're going through really tough periods of your life, you've got the belly fat because it is largely a stress response. Of course, yes, it is influenced by what we eat and drink, but the belly fat in particular is largely a stress response, and we are much more prone to belly fat as we go through the menopause because of our falling sex hormones and the relationship that those have on cortisol, which is largely responsible for that belly fat. But you might find that your joints are aching more. You've just got more inflammation in your body. You might be having many more mood swings. You're just feeling more antsy, more irritable. Your sleep may be negatively impacted. And so all of these things have a cumulatively negative impact on how you manage. So while you've still got all these things happening to you, how your body is then reacting is making it feel even worse because you're in more pain, you're more frazzled, you can't think clearly, you're less productive, you've not got the energy, you're feeling vile because you're bloated and you're putting on weight. And it's, how the heck do I get myself out of this situation? So I want you to understand, I have been through that over the last few months. It seemed to have got worse and worse and worse and worse. I'm actually sort of starting to feel quite hopeful again now. And one of the strategies I'm going to share with you today has had such a profound impact on giving me a sense of hope and just faith in the future that things are improving. And when we can readjust our energy, even if you're feeling really critically low, by doing what I'm going to be sharing with you later, you're going to be able to lift that energy and help you to climb out of that rut. I'm going to explain the basics behind the vagus nerve and how it impacts our health long term and the relationship it has to our production of cortisol. And then I'm going to dive straight into those strategies. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kate Hartley. I share a weekly video with you every Monday. If you've got something you would like me to tackle about menopause, then drop it in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to add that to my rotation. I talk largely about natural menopause. I don't take HRT myself. I'm currently 54. I went through perimenopause young. I think I was done with the whole thing by my early 40s. Of course, I was told it was not perimenopause because I was too young. And I'm a learner. I absolutely adore learning stuff. I've been in the holistic field for around 2 decades. I'm a qualified psychotherapist. My specialities are grief and anxiety. My aim is to equip you with mindset tools that work, as well as having a really deep understanding about how to support your journey through the menopause. And if you're taking HRT, whatever I suggest on my channel is also going to benefit you, because lifestyle is huge. No matter what you take, any medications that you might have, where you're currently at with your health, lifestyle is one of the most profound things that you can do to support yourself. And it's very easy to say, it's more difficult to do because it does require us making a few key choices. The thing I really want you to take from this is when you start to make those healthier choices, your body then starts to crave them. And when you have an awareness of, if you slept badly, you're going to want the sweeter things the next day. When you're under a lot of stress, you're going to be craving the salty and the sugary things. When you understand that's happening, you can think, okay, right, this is because I'm under stress. How can I combat that? Because I don't want to get fat. I don't want to have inflammation. I don't want this or that. You can make that choice. And so by loading up on healthy proteins, etc., and the things that I do share on my channel, you are going to really help yourself navigate this phase of life really well and also manage stress more effectively. there is always stress out there. It's not about us getting rid of stress. There are some aspects of our lives where we can actually reduce stress by making a few key changes. However, there will always be stress out there. And it's about us building that resilience to stress and that adaptability to stress, which is where the vagal tone, so how well you adjust to stress, comes into today's episode. So what is the vagus nerve and why would you even want to worry about it? The vagus nerve is like the superhighway that communicates between your brain and your major organs. And it's back and forth communications. It controls things like inflammation, digestion, your heart rate, and even your mood. So you can sort of think of it like a thermostat. It's always trying to maintain balance within your body. Our bodies are miracles. They are so good at actually trying to achieve that balance that we need to be a healthy human. However, because of all the stress that happens that we generate within ourselves, but also that happens out there that we don't have so much control over, that can really affect how your vagus nerve functions. And with long-term stress, so chronic stress, which is stress over a long period of time. You might hear the terms acute and chronic. Acute is just a short period of time. We are designed to manage acute stress. The body's really good at dealing with that. It's that chronic stress where you've got more cortisol being pumped out into your system consistently because of a variety of different stressors. Cortisol in small amounts is actually really beneficial for our bodies. It helps to keep inflammation down. It helps to keep us motivated. But it's that long-term stress that is having that negative impact on how you're feeling. And so when we talk about vagal tone, we're talking about your ability to adjust from a stressful situation to a non-stressful situation. So, how quickly does your heart rate balance out again? How quickly does your digestive system kick back in? Because in high levels of stress, your digestive system shuts down. So does your reproductive system, because technically we don't need to be digesting a meal or reproducing if we're running away from an attacker. So all these things get shut down and negatively impacted when we're under long-term stress, which is why, irritable bowel syndrome, various inflammatory disorders, colitis, ulcers, these sorts of things are compounded when we're under long-term stress. And so the vagus nerve, when we have healthy vagal tone, it helps to regulate our stress response for how much cortisol we're pumping out. It helps us to recover faster from a more stressful experience. And it also helps to control inflammatory levels within the body. So I mentioned it a bit earlier, but if you're under long-term stress, I bet your knees are hurting. I bet your wrists or your joints might be sore. Those signs are that your body is under long-term stress and that you need to reduce that inflammation within your body. And it is something that you can do, but you need to recognize that you've got it. And then rather than popping the medications to reduce that inflammation, because for instance, when we have like maybe joint pain, what do? We pop an ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is an NSAID. Essentially, what happens when you take something like ibuprofen, and it says in the packet, it might lead to gastric disruption. That is because it negatively impacts the mucous membrane in our intestines, in our gut. We want that mucous membrane. It's really important that we keep the integrity of that mucus because it helps to the motility of the digestive system. As we go through menopause, as estrogen falls, our motility does tend to slow down. So you might be getting more constipated, you might be getting more bloating, you might have greater sensitivities to foods that you never had sensitivities to in the past. And that mucous membrane helps to keep the barrier between the food and the juices and the various bacteria, the healthy and the not so healthy bacteria that reside in our gut. It keeps them in our gut and not in our bloodstream, which is, when you have leaky gut, that mucous membrane, the integrity of the gut wall has been negatively impacted. And that's when you get added inflammation because of some of the food particles, some of the bacteria is passing through into your bloodstream, which is making you even more inflamed. So you really want to focus on gut healthy foods. That is one of the easiest things you can do. As we're going through menopause and our sex hormones are declining, cortisol does rise. So naturally we always have that added burden of cortisol in our bodies, which is why we need to be even more ninja about managing our cortisol levels so that we avoid adrenal burnout, so that we feel like we're functioning normally. And when you can manage your stress levels effectively, you will notice a profound impact on how your menopause symptoms are in actual fact reduced. So how can you improve your vagal tone? One of the first things that I would suggest to anyone who I work with as a client is to improve your breathing. So most of us breathe, particularly when we're under stress, it's like it's high up in our lungs. We don't take deep breaths. When you can control your breath and take deep, long inhalations through your nose and hold it for a few seconds at the top, and then breathe slowly out through either your nose or your mouth, whatever you find more easy to do, and then hold it out for a few seconds, and then again breathe in through your nose, hold it for a few seconds, breathe out slowly through your nose or your mouth, and hold it out for a few seconds. When you can repeat that in a way that you feel comfortable with. In fact, last week we did the breath test, and that's a really great way of checking your adrenal function. So if you've not watched that yet, make sure you do. I will link it in the description box below this video too, but that will give you a really good indication of how your adrenal health is actually performing. It's called the carbon dioxide test, the CO2 test, and it's dead easy to do, and you'll see where you fall within the parameters, and it's a very easy thing to improve as well. So deep breathing naturally stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve moves across through the abdomen, sort of from the top down to the bottom. When you're deep breathing, you stimulate that vagus nerve, but you're also delivering oxygen around your body, which is helping every cell of your body function more optimally. It helps to also get rid of toxins in the body. So deep breathing is really, really important. What I always say to my anxiety clients, and this is something across the board, we cannot be stressed and relaxed at the same time. It's an absolute physical impossibility. And deep breathing actively brings on that relaxation response. So if you are in a level of stress at the moment, I highly recommend you deep breathe in the morning, at lunchtime, and before you go to bed. If you're waking up through the night, do some deep breathing. You might not want to do the really sort of long inhalations and long exhalations because it feels like too much effort when you've woken up in the early hours and you're exhausted. But you can do something like box breathing. So breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold it out for 4 seconds. If you feel like you want to do more, do for 5, 5, 5, 5, and do a few rounds of that. Often, if you're just focusing on your breathing, it helps to calm the chatter in your brain and you'll fall back to sleep naturally. And that's a two-pronged effect. So, you're calming down your thoughts, but you're also bringing on that relaxation response by stimulating the vagus nerve by doing that box breathing. Next is cold water exposure. Now, if you're a complete wimp like I am, I do swim in the sea through the winter with my sister and her friends. I can do that with big waves. I cannot do it in Scotland going into a cold loch. I don't know why. And the thought of actually having a cold shower for me would. I had the shower went cold the other day quickly, and I nearly broke my back trying to get out of the cold stream. It was ridiculous. I don't know why I can't do it, but it is obviously a mental thing. But if you hate the thought of cold water exposure, and I know there's masses of people who do it, and I mean, good for you if you're one of those that can. One of the really effective ways you can do it is to put your hands and wrists in very cold water, or splash your face with very cold water. So even if you've washed your face at the end of the day, just then spend a few seconds with really cold water and splash it onto your face. That also will have a really positive impact on bringing down that stress response. Next one is humming or chanting or singing. So your vagus nerve goes through your throat. So you will see a lot of meditation practitioners, they will hum or they'll chant at the same time as doing their meditation. There is a reason for that. It's because it stimulates the vagus nerve. And you will find that if you just hum any old noise, don't worry if you're not in tune or not, just hum. That vibration in your throat will help to bring on that relaxation response. You might like singing. Just sing to your heart's content. It doesn't matter what you sound like, who might hear you, just sing. It's almost like opening the floodgates to allowing some of that stress out and some joy in. We live our lives so programmed to be doing all the time and frazzled all the time. We don't have time for the things that we enjoy. Even if you're in the car, just sing, chant, hum, whatever it might be that you find the most beneficial. And that will also help to bring down that inflammatory response. It'll help to regulate your cortisol. It'll be stimulating the vagus nerve, and you'll be feeling a lot happier as a result of it. Gentle movement and stretching is really important. I'm a massive fan of heavy duty strength training workouts. I think when you're managing your stress quite well, they are brilliant. As a menopausal woman, we all need to be doing strength training because we want to avoid osteoporosis, and also it does help improve our joint mobility, our joint strength. You'll find that if you're not moving regularly, you will seize up, your body will seize up. I know if I take a few days off, my muscles start to feel so stiff again and I lose that flexibility in my body. That's when I'll wake up with a crick in my neck. So make sure that you are moving regularly. But if you're on that sort of fine line between complete burnout and just kind of managing to claw your way back, I would take it easy for a few days and then just start to reintroduce strength training again and listen to what your body's telling you without thinking, oh, I think I'll just leave it for today, knowing that you could have done something. We use our excuses way too many times, and strength training is an absolute must for healthy longevity, no matter whether you like it or not. You will soon start to love it because of the benefits that you get from it. But it is one of those things you really do need to focus on doing. It's also really great for your gut health, which is great for your brain health, which reduces inflammation. It stimulates the feel-good, happy hormones in your body. So definitely strength training. But if you're in that very sensitive phase at the moment and you're just feeling completely broken down, something like Tai Chi or just rocking yourself. I mean, you can bend over. One of the best things I think is if you stand up straight and then you just bend at the hips and then you put your arms out in front of you and you let them dangle down and you just sway backwards and forwards. Gravity is obviously holding your head. Relax your head completely and your shoulders, and you just do that sway a few times and it just feels absolutely lovely. And the other thing you can do is lie on your back with your legs up the wall. Again, that is really great for just bringing down that stress response. And you can stay like that for 15 minutes and do some humming maybe, or do some box breathing or deep breathing, and combine, a few of these strategies together to really maximize the time that you're spending on it, but also the results that you get. Gut health and nutrition is massive, particularly this day and age when everything or so many of our foods are sprayed with pesticides and fertilizers, and the soil that our food is produced in is pretty depleted. It's actually hard to eat healthily these days unless you grow your own. And if you're able to afford organic produce, I would definitely do that. I was doing some research on glyphosate, which is sprayed everywhere pretty much. It's a systemic weed killer. So essentially when it's sprayed onto crops, it doesn't just kill the weeds around the crops, the actual vegetable itself, because it's a systemic weed killer, will actually absorb the glyphosate. So of course, then when we eat it, even if you've washed it, it's still got this glyphosate in it. I wish we could just eradicate this bloody stuff and use organic farming methods, but they still don't. And I can understand, there's commercial need to feed a lot of people, but there must be healthier ways of doing it. So if you're able to grow your own, do. If you're able to afford to buy organic produce, do. Otherwise, do wash your food before you eat it. That'll help reduce your exposure to some heavy metals and some of the pesticides and the weed killers that we are exposed to. But what you can do is eat things like fermented foods. So while we've still got the negative impact of what goes on out there in the environment and into our food chain, we can still support our health. So cut out the refined sugars, cut out the processed foods. Your body's already under stress from the healthy food. So don't add to the stress by eating all the rubbish. Sugars are just refined sugars, we don't need it. If you want something sweet, eat a date or a prune or fruit. Fruit's good for us. I know fruit gets a bad rap. We need fruit. It has so many vital elements in it that are essential for our immune system. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they all ate fruit. So suddenly giving it up is not going to be a benefit to you at all. Make sure that you're eating fermented foods when you can. So things like sauerkraut. I recently made my own batch of sauerkraut. It is super easy to do. It's so high in vitamin C, but also the various healthy gut bacteria, which are going to help to populate your gut with the right kind of bacteria to help then further improve your immune system, as well as multiple other things that help to restore that mucous membrane in your gut. Things like kefir, kimchi, Kombucha, again, I make my own kombucha. I do make my own sourdough bread. I know there's a lot of stuff about wheat. I don't really feel I have a sensitivity to gluten, but if you do, then you might want to cut out wheat. But just because something in the gluten-free aisle is there does not mean it's healthy. A lot of the foods, same goes for vegan food, a lot of them are very high in sugar. So you do want to be, you need to look at your labels and understand what your labels say so that you know that you're eating healthy foods. If you can, just produce everything from scratch at home. It doesn't take that long to do, particularly when you get a bit better at it. Of course, the first time you do anything, it takes a little bit longer, but you soon get into the swing of it. But your health, your nutrition will benefit so much when you start to prepare your own food from home. I think it's scary that we've now become such a packaged society. We really do need to be preparing food like our great grandparents did. And then finally is the power of manifesting and visualization. As I mentioned earlier, life has been really hard for me over the last certainly 18 months, nearer to 2 years now. And it's been successive things that have gone wrong. I mean, major life changes, like all the top ones except for divorce, because I did that years and years ago. I found that by creating a renewed vision board and also creating my perfect day, which I typed out and then read and audio recorded myself reading it out just as an audio recording, and having a few affirmations that were really specific to my goals, my dreams, things that I might be struggling with right now, has such a profound impact on me because I do all the other good stuff. I do the fermented foods. My nutrition is really good. I do the strength training. I do the deep breathing when I feel I need to. But the visualization thing for me was absolutely profound because I almost felt like my energy was so low, even doing the other stuff. I needed something that excited me to make me think, yes, there is hope. There's still yes, there's purpose in all of this that I'm doing. And so by creating that visualization and the vision board and the affirmations and then my perfect day, I listen to it multiple times. If I'm waking up through the night, I listen to it. I listen to it before I go to bed. I listen to it when I wake up in the morning, first thing. The recording is about 7 minutes long. I'm actually going to create a personalized resource in the future. I haven't made it yet, where people can answer a series of questions, and then I can form a perfect day on your behalf. But in the meantime, what I am going to do is offer a free workshop that shows you how to put your vision board together, how to find affirmations or write affirmations that are true to you, and have the sort of basis of this sort of perfect life plan that gives you that sense of hope. Because honestly, when I listen to mine or when I look at my board and I read my affirmations, even on the really harder days, it gives me that it's that it sort of ignites that little spark inside me. So that little spark on some days is really dim, and by looking at the board, reading the affirmations, etc., it's like I've blown oxygen into it, and it had such a profound impact on me. And already I've been doing it now for about 2 weeks. I'm noticing things are changing in my life. My energy is lifted. What the energy we put out is the energy we get back. And just recently, things are starting to happen for me rather than against me. And I'm absolutely convinced it's down to the fact that I've, manipulated the energy that I am creating. Because when life is really, really hard, you don't have that energy. You don't have that wherewithal to think, I need to do this, because you don't. Your internal dialogue is terrible. When things go wrong, it's just like, "Ugh." Your instinctive reaction is just, "Ugh." Whereas when you have this beautiful image of things that really excite you and make you feel calm, and various affirmations that you think, yes, yes, this is me, this is where I'm going. And then ultimately to create your perfect day plan, I cannot tell you how profound an impact it has had on me. And I really want that for you too. So just know that when life is really, really hard, and as we go through the menopause, things do get more difficult. We're changing ourselves internally. Our hormones are all out of sync. Even if you're postmenopausal, your body's still been through a big change. Often the dynamics in our relationships are changing. There's a lot of external stuff that might be of a concern to you right now, environmentally, politically, etc. You may be becoming an empty nester. You may already be an empty nester, and particularly if you've been the one at home, like I mean, I work my business around my children. My children always came first, and so I'm a mother by default. And that was my main life's purpose. And it can take some getting used to when you're no longer that same role. So, and things do change. You all of a sudden your parents are getting older if you're lucky enough still to have them. And we see them more frail, and that is stressful in itself. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on, not just, what's going on in our bodies, but around us that we don't have that much control over. So all we can do is build our own resilience to stress, improve our vagal tone. Like I say, check the video out from last week about do that CO2 test, the breath test. I think it's about 7 minutes into the video. And that will give you a really good indication of where you're at as far as your adrenal function goes. And it also gives you tips on how to improve it. But just be mindful that the things that we can control, we really need to be controlling, because there is no like get out plan. There's only us that can stand up for ourselves and improve our situation where we're at. And even when you're feeling crushed and broken and you've got that inflammation and your joints ache and you feel tired and your sleep's pants and just life is getting you down, and then something else happens, just know that when you're supporting yourself and you can work on improving your energy, the energy that you're putting out there, and have a little bit of hope, it can have such a profound impact on your life in so many different areas. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you'd like to be part of that workshop that I'm doing, either drop me your email below this video. And I know it's a bit tricky because then it's out in the public eye. What you could do is come and find me on Instagram at Kate Hartley UK, and you could just send me a private message on there, or on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on various. I've got different accounts on Facebook. Kate.Hartley.54 is one of them. Is my private one, or my own personal account, and then I'm Kate Hartley UK as well, as like my sort of more businessy type page. Or you could request to join my free Thrive and Revive community. That is also linked in the description box below. Right now, we're doing gut health for the month of March. We've just finished adrenal health. We dive into a theme around menopausal mental and physical health every month. And we would love to welcome you in there if you'd like to be part of that community. It's a very supportive community. Please answer the questions fully when you request to join, just because I want to make sure I'm not letting in weird people. It is a woman-only community. And we'd love to see you in there, and you'll get a lot of support, and you can ask your questions in there, but you can also communicate with me privately in there. It is a private group, and we can do the workshop that I do. I will definitely be sharing it in there too. So if you'd like to be part and parcel of that sort of visualization, manifestation workshop, it's going to be very practical. We're not going to be sat cross-legged humming to the universe. It is very much about being, pragmatic, practical, but working on lifting your energy, making you feel excited, having a sense of hope, and helping you overcome some of those self-limiting beliefs or fears that might be holding you back right now. So thank you so much for your company, and I'll look forward to chatting with you again next week.